Hi there. Welcome back to the Trusted Visions podcast. Over the past couple of weeks, things have transpired that have caused us to pause and rethink the relationships between third party recruiters, their clients, and their broker dealer partners. It seems like it's time to go back to the basics regarding simple agreements and responsibilities that are inherent in those agreements. Jeremy begins his new podcast series with some of the factors he thinks that we should be considering. Jeremy, take it away.
John, thank you for the introduction to this month's podcast. And this month's podcast is really important to me. And as you mentioned, there's some things that have come to light over the last couple of weeks that we'll definitely be, discussing in the future when the time is right. That will kind of wrap all this back. But to your point, one of the biggest foundations that Trusted Visions was created after my 18 years in corporate America was really to bring more transparency and integrity into this business. And while I love the financial services industry, I think there's many areas that the integrity and transparency is certainly lacking. And so, as you put it, we're going to get in some of these topics we've talked about in the past, but we're going to get much more granular on some of these topics. And the point of this isn't to call anybody out, but it's really to say to our audience and all the professionals out there, including myself and our team, John, we can do better. And so this week's podcast, we're really going to focus and get granular on to our audience working with third-party recruiting firms. And I know we've talked about this before, but let's really talk about what a quality third-party recruiting firm is going to do for you. And so the first question to our audience would be, how many firms are they introducing you to? I know a lot of third-party recruiting firms go out there and say, we have over 200 relationships with broker dealers. That's great. But to our audience, you have a business to run. And if they're introducing you to 10, 15 different broker dealers at once, that's great to have options. But that's 10 to 15 hours just on introductory calls to get a sense of what that firm can offer without even getting into technology or advisory pricing or payouts or any of that. And so, as I've pointed out many times on these podcasts, we have relationships with just as many broker dealers out there, but we feel like if we've done our job, then and listening to what's important to you, we should really only have to introduce you to 2, maybe 3 firms. And we do have other options, but we want to be respectful of the fact that you have a business to run. In addition to that, to our audience, and I had a prime example of this just a couple months ago, working with a $2 million team, and went to submit that profile to one of the broker dealers, and the broker dealer said, "Oh, well, they're already tagged to another third-party recruiting firm." So I reached out to my clients and said, "Hey, are you talking to somebody else? Because if you are, that's okay, but I can't work with you with certain firms if you're talking to them." And they said, "I don't even know who this person is." And I said, "Well, have you received a call from this person?" "Well, I received a call, but I said I wasn't interested." And so my point in saying that is a couple things. Is A, even if you're not interested when talking to a third party recruiting firm, make sure that you understand their intentions of, are they just submitting your profile to 10, 15 broker dealers? Because the way it works is, if I submit you to a broker dealer and you have a conversation with that recruiter within that broker dealer within 30 days, I now have protection of you for a year. And so make sure that if you don't want to work with that third party recruiting firm, and or you're not ready to have conversations, make sure to tell them, "Hey, I don't want you submitting me to any broker dealer until I'm ready." And to the third party recruiting firms out there that are doing this, we can do better. And I mean all of us. In addition to that, um, you know, when you're working with a third party recruiting firm, and one of the another third party recruiting firm that I have a high level respect for, just posted a podcast the other day about the benefits of working with a third party recruiting firm. But when you're working with a third party recruiting firm, understand their intentions of, are they on every call with you? Are they on every demo with you? Because if they're not, maybe you're hearing things that if they're not there to hear it, they can't clarify for you. And there's probably going to be some assumptions made. And so that would be my second point is are they on those calls and involved in those conversations? And then for our broker dealer partners, I know a lot of our broker dealer partners have non-solicits in their contracts with us, and that's fine. But from a broker dealer partner standpoint, are your third party recruiting firms true partners with you? Or even though they're not supposed to solicit your advisors, are they soliciting your advisors? And as a third party recruiting firm, you have to ask yourself, is that the right thing to do? Because again, our services and any other third party recruiting firm services out there don't cost you as an advisor or an OSJ anything. And it doesn't take away from your deal. We're there to really be an advocate and a consultant for you to make sure that you're getting the questions answered that you don't know to ask, don't think to ask, or don't want to offend somebody by asking. And that's why we're on every one of those calls, because the person that posted a podcast the other day, and I spent 18 years in corporate America, but she made a good point of these broker dealer recruiters, and this is no disrespect to them, these broker dealer recruiters, they're really telling you all the great stuff. They're not going to tell you that, hey, we may potentially be sold in the next 3, 6, 12, 18 months. Or, hey, we're changing our pricing in the next 6 months, because they want to get you closed because they have corporate goals to achieve. And I get that. And again, no disrespect to those corporate recruiters, but we as third party recruiting firms are really there to help you understand what you're getting yourself into in terms of a long-term broker dealer partnership. And so I hope you found this useful. Again, we're going to spend this month really getting granular on some of these topics that I think are important to our audience, but also just as important to the professionals out there, and asking yourself, can I do better going forward? Hope everybody has a blessed week.
Thanks, Jeremy. There's certainly a lot to unpack there and more to talk about in future podcasts. So I look forward to it. For you viewers, if you want to reach out to Jeremy, give him a call or text him at 480-430-5012, or you can reach him by email at info@trustdivisions.com. See you next week.